Alright, good morning fellow traders. It is Thursday, July 14th, just around 5:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Today what we're going to do is some technical analysis on the Euro Great British Pound pair. So first off, in my 4-hour compression, what I want to do is attempt to trend this market. Now first off, before I even trend this market, what I'm seeing right here is I'm seeing a bearish pattern in the market being a symmetrical triangle that I want to take note of. And we can see that symmetrical triangle coming in right here in the marketplace. And this is going to help us in our overall determination of what is happening with this trend, because what this is showing us is that we're going to see a bearish continuation here of the overall trend that we can see is down. So in short term, what you would say, okay, is why wouldn't I trend this and look for an uptrend? And that is because you are seeing a bearish pattern in the marketplace, so you want to be aware of what's happening. So in this scenario here, you would look to trend more data and see, can you find a downtrend in this market? So when I'm taking my channel and I'm looking for a trend, I would go to the top here and connect these 3 points of lower highs, and then look to connect to a support in the marketplace. And we can see that we have a support right here in the marketplace. And now what we're looking for is confirmation of the trend through the heart line, and we can definitely see that we have that occurring here. We can see heart line respect right here, we can see heart line respect right here, heart line respect at this point, and now we have heart line respect right here at this point. So overall, this is a great trend to look for opportunities to trade on the Euro Great British Pound. Now let's just go ahead here and take this down to the 1-hour compression, where we want to do analysis and we want to see what part of the movement here are we lying in, what do we have happening here, what do we have happening here, so we know what we can anticipate coming in at this area right here. So let's take this down to the 1 hour, and we're going to use our Fibo targets to create further analysis on this pair. And taking it to the start point of our downtrend, what we want to do is we want to look for that first movement in the marketplace. Off of that first movement, we can see we have a movement right here. We have a pullback that took the market up all the way to the 786. But furthermore, what we want to look for is we want to look, do we have respect of our Fibos, being respect of either 270, 618, 786, and ultimately that 1270. And how did the market react off of the 1270 is very important, because we want to see, did the market sell off, or excuse me, in this point bounce off the 1270, meaning profit taking had occurred, meaning that they are following the plan that we believe is happening. So initial movement, a deep 786 retracement we can see here in the marketplace. Okay, and from this we had the market create a lower low, but it was not able to pay out that 270, came within a couple pips of it, bounced to the back of the top of the trend wall, and from here we have perfect 61.8. Notice how the market knew exactly where that 61 point is, bounced off of that momentarily, came back to test that 61.8. So furthermore, what we're looking for is further respect of the Fibos, and what we can see that we have here when we extend this 1270 across is that we have respect of this 1270, and we can see that coming right here. Notice perfectly how the market stopped at that 1270. Close in reverse occurred here, but we did take it down to the heart line of the trend. Okay, and from here is where we want to see, did this market create a bounce north, because we want to see, are they respecting the Fibo targets? And if they are, then we're going to look for our next start point in the marketplace. So moving on here, we can see that they did exactly what we anticipate, and they moved it to the top of the trend wall once again. And this is now going to be our new initial movement that we're looking for. So when we get a pullback here in this market, we set our Fibo targets, and now we look for where we stand in the current movement so that we know where we can be looking to trade. Now what we can see here is that we have a mass movement coming down. We have a retracement in here. We can see that overall it is a smooth out retracement. Okay, so taking the top here of this movement down to the bottom, and here what we had is we had a 23.6 retracement. So what we can anticipate off of 23.6 is that we're going to see a fast movement coming down, and we can see that occurring exactly as we anticipate. And notice what has occurred right here is that it did not stop at any of the levels, being the 270, momentarily paused at the 61.8, but only to finish off the 786, ran right into the bottom of the trend wall. Okay, and now we are seeing this bearish formation, being a symmetrical triangle, coming into the marketplace. So what's important right here is, you notice we had a 23.6, so that shows us that we're going to have a fast movement. There are a lot of sellers in this marketplace that they're interested in the continuation to the downside. Okay, and what we can see is that occurred because they did not stop at either 270, 61.8. Momentarily they stopped there, only to drive it all the way down to the 786. Okay, so now what we want to see is where we stand in this current movement and what we have happening in this current movement at this time. So we can see is that this market is running along this symmetrical triangle that we talked about. Okay, and if we look further below, we still have a 1270 target coming in at the price level of the 8690 area. Okay, so that is still a valid target, because remember, in the movements of the trend, we are always looking for the ultimate payment of the 1270. So this is the target that we're looking for, and we're going to look for an opportunity to trade that. So the most important things that we can see here is, once again, is that we are running within a symmetrical triangle. We are once again at that heart line. Notice how this heart line has stopped this market at this point, at this point, at this point, and now we're looking for it to stop the market at this point, give us a break here of the triangle, a hook back, and from this hook, sell right on that line all the way down to that 1270. Now, when you further analyze this movement, you can also see that we are seeing this symmetrical triangle is also showing a a bearish flag pattern. Okay, and just going ahead quickly and creating that bearish flag, we can see that we are also, okay, let me just make this a different color. All right. Okay, and what we can see is that we're running right here within yet another bearish pattern. So this market is screaming at us, hey, we're going to continue this movement. We have bearish potential still in this market, running from the bottom to the top, to the bottom to the top. Okay, and now when we see the second hit on the bear flag, we usually anticipate that this is going to be the movement that is going to drive the market to break out of that. And we can see that this market hit the bottom, now is running within the heartline of the bear flag, and we're now overlapping also the heartline of the bear flag with the heartline of the overall 240 trend, which this is showing to me that this is where the sellers are going to come in. Because remember, that's what the market is all about. It's all about finding where the order flows are going to get filled, where the entry orders are going to be hiding, where the sellers in a downtrend are going to be hiding. And for me right now, this is showing me that the sellers are going to be hiding at this level. And looking for a short opportunity, okay, you have such a great risk-reward ratio on this pair because you're looking at 130 pips of total profit to this point. And you can place a technical stop right above here, above your last point of support, your last point of resistance in the market, and you can have a very, very good risk-reward ratio, because this little box right here is your risk, okay, and this would be your reward. Now, furthermore, we want to look for a confluence of events happening below, meaning that we want to look for potential PSRs on the 240 chart. So let's take it back to the 240 compression, and on the 240 compression, what we're looking for is targets below here around the 88 price level and further below. So we need to find a downtrend within that price level of the 8800, okay? And further looking below here, what we can see is that we have areas here in this market that we can see we have a downtrend right here, okay? But there's not much interest in this point right here because we don't have any resistance points where we need them. So we want to go back and look for further downtrends in this market, and here we can see a very nice downtrend. So what we want to do is we want to grab these points here, and we want to go ahead and see, has the market respected these points? So from this overall movement, we can see that we have a resistance point right there. Okay, we have a resistance point right here. We have resistance at this level right here. And that should be just enough because we are within the range that we're looking to trade this pair. And just grabbing finally this one right here at the bottom. Now what's important to realize is why I took these points as resistance in the marketplace, because this is our overall downtrend, correct? We can see that. Now this is a 2 to the left, 2 to the right resistance, and so is this right here. But this point right here is just overlapping from the resistance, driving the market from this resistance point. We had a new low, then the market came up, new resistance, we had a new low come into the marketplace, comes up, new resistance, new low, comes up, new resistance, and new low. So we want to only take the most significant points of resistance. We don't want to take every single point of resistance in this because we would clutter our chart and have no idea of what is going on. So let's just go ahead and take this back to current data and see, do we have any overlap of data coming in on this movement? Okay, and taking it to current data. Now look, what we can see happening here is, first off, we have the market stop right here at the 87.50 price level, which we had a PSR from a previous downtrend. Okay, notice up above right here, the market stopped at this PSR. Okay, blew through this one and stopped right at that 87.50 PSR. And now what we can see is we have this 87.10 PSR lining up within range of the 1270. Now remember, the 1270 is sitting at the 86.90 price level. So 20 pips right there where we have a difference in the market. Now what we would say is that at the 87.10 we are going to pull our stop very tight, and we're going to let the market ride out and try to achieve that 86.90 price level. Okay, and so we have nailed where we're going to look to exit. Now once again, let's just cover that entry for today, and then we will wrap up this video. So again, what we're going to look for is for a breakout of the bearish patterns that we're seeing in the marketplace. Okay, and again, the bearish patterns that we're seeing are the symmetrical triangle and the bearish flag. Okay, so what we would look for once again is for the market to come here, rally south, pull back, hook, and on the hook we would take our entry and short it down to the 1270 PSR overlap that we talked about below at around the 87.10 and 86.90 price level. So that's what we have. Okay, by no means do not jump in this trade at this point. What you want is the confirmation to come in and the break, and that's where you want to get in, because that is where the continuation order flows are going to be in. Right here is where we're going to look for the first sellers to come into this marketplace. If they don't come in here, they're definitely going to come in here at the top of the bear flag. Okay, but the continuation flow where we're going to see the heart of the movement come in is definitely going to be on the hook on the breakout of the bear flag symmetrical triangle. So that's what we have on the Euro Great British Pound. Hope you enjoyed that. Until next time, folks, good luck and happy trading.